Hi, I'm bigcal, welcome to my world, and welcome back to Dragon Questober III. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a first impressions on an upcoming Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince for the Nintendo Switch. I was also hoping to do a first impressions of another game, but unfortunately my physical version I ordered from PlayAsia and it has not arrived in time for me to talk about it in a video. Oh wait, yes it has. It arrived on Saturday, so yeah, less than a week for me to play around with it, write something up and do a video on it. But that was plenty of time because I decided to give it the same amount of time as the Dragon Quest Monsters demo, which was roughly 4 hours, so I was able to do it in a couple of days. And yeah, let's just get into talking about Infinity Strash, Dragon Quest The Adventures of Dai. Infinity Strash is based on an anime, based on another anime that was based off of a manga. I haven't read the manga or seen the 1991 anime, but luckily for me I have seen the most recent anime that this game is actually based on. Dai lives on an island with a bunch of monsters and is raised by a lump shaman named Brass. He trains Dai to become a mage, but Dai wishes to be a hero class instead, and his dream becomes true when the evil Dark Lord Hadlar returns and the former hero, Avon, sacrifices himself in a failed attempt to defeat Hadlar again. Dai and Avon's other student, Pop, set out to avenge their master's death, and so begins their big adventure. No need to go into more detail with the story, as I just recommend watching the show instead. Here in the UK you can watch it all for free on the BBC iPlayer, which is awesome. The game itself starts off around the halfway point into the story, so some spoilers here, with Dai battling against Baron, the Dragon Knight. You are thrown into the fight with a basic tutorial showing you how to attack, block and dodge, as well as use special abilities. After the battle, Baron, like in the anime, wipes Dai's memories. The game uses this in an interesting way, having you now go back to the very beginning of the story and work your way through what has technically already happened, with the guise being to restore Dai's memories. Sadly, this is where the problems begin. As I've said a few times now, this game is based on an anime, yet for some crazy reason, all the cutscenes are still images, with audio from the anime playing over them. They literally have video files of everything but didn't go to the effort of actually using them. They didn't even bother to recreate them in-engine, despite having plenty of other in-engine scenes like the one at the start with Baron. I can only assume it was a space-saving issue, as I cannot fathom any other reason for them to not use the anime here. The other issue with this is that there are a lot of these scenes. In the first chapter of the game, which is around 30 minutes long, there is over 20 minutes of mostly still image cutscenes, and then 2 fights that take a few minutes each. I get the need to go over the story and the characters etc, but 20 minutes feels like a lifetime when it's not actual video footage. I can honestly see people just skipping a lot of it to get into the gameplay, which is a shame because I really like the story and characters. While the number of battles definitely picks up after Chapter 1, they are all still bite-sized missions that will barely take any time at all unless you die and have to restart, which happened to me in a couple of boss fights. But at least the battles are fun, right? Kinda. The game sort of plays like the Hero spin-off, check my video earlier this month for a review of the first one, but slower and not as good. Controls are simple. Y does a basic attack, then X, A and R will perform a spell or special attack that you've assigned to each button. These attacks will all have cooldown, so you can't just spam them. ZL lets you use a super ability, such as unleashing Dai's dragon power or letting Pop speed up his cooldown times. ZI is for the coup de grace, similar to Heroes again, with each character having a big special attack. All sounds good, right? Well, the issue is dodging. L1 will block attacks, letting you take some damage but minimalising it. B is for dodging, and timing it right allows for your coup de grace gauge to build and of course completely avoid taking damage. Except it barely works. Half the time I press the button, Die or whoever I'm controlling will do a dodge roll and still get hit, or it just won't register the dodge because I'm in the middle of an attack. So if I'm performing a standard combo on my opponent and I see him about to land a massive attack, I have to hope the attack animation finishes so I can get out of the way, which almost never happens. All of this makes combat a slog, because rather than the fun hack and slash action of the likes of Heroes, you have to carefully time attacks, back away, wait for the opponent to finish his attack and go in for a shot yourself before attempting to escape again right after. True, this is only an issue in boss fights, but so far most of the game has been boss fights. Not only is the combat not that fun, but it also takes way longer than it should. Pop is an exception to this with his mage abilities, as he can stand back and blast opponents with various attacks, then use his special ability to reduce cooldown and go right back to throwing fireballs, etc. Unfortunately, this doesn't always work, as some enemies don't get hurt much by magic, so you have to do your best to stay awake with Die and slice them to bits. Other than the main story to work through, you also have the Temple of Recollection, which lets you take on a dungeon to increase character stats and earn items. Basically, you take on a single floor with 5 rooms, and if you complete each room's challenge, aka beat all the enemies, sometimes with a time limit, you get a reward. Before each room you choose a door to go through, which can increase your attack power, magic abilities, defense, coup de grace abilities, or get you some treasure. Once you've beaten a floor, you can choose to go down to the next floor or leave with the items you have. Leaving in the middle of a floor will lose everything you've gained on that floor. The level system works differently here too. You begin at level 1 and level up as you work your way through each room, getting stronger the more floors you venture down. This experience doesn't carry over to the main story, as instead you gain the stat increases. I honestly really like how this works. One other big part of the game is bond memories, which act as accessories to throw onto your party members to increase stats and abilities. You earn them through the story mode or even the Temple of Recollection. They all represent key moments in the story and are represented in the game as a card. They can do basic things like increase strength or HP, as well as character specific enhancements such as increasing Die's critical hit percentage or the potency of one of Pop's magic attacks. These can be upgraded in the Temple of Recollection, along with spells and abilities too, so long as you have the necessary items and gold to do so. All in all, there is a lot to like about this game. I like the story from watching the anime, I like the characters, I like the visuals, I love the music, but it reminds me of Paper Mario the Origami King, and that I loved everything about that game except for the battles. And the battles are kind of the core gameplay, so everything's good except for that part, and it just ruins the overall experience. And the one thing that ruins it the most is that damn dodging that just doesn't work. I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just terrible at the game, but yeah, I just could never get the hang of it. And yeah, I played nearly 4 hours into it, and I've just been terrible at dodging. I've lost multiple times on 2 particular boss fights, just because, yeah, I just could not stop myself from taking damage, because when you attack, even though your attack animation is going and you're hitting the enemy, it doesn't stop them from being able to attack you at the same time. So they can still, like I said, start preparing for some massive attack while you're in the middle of an attack, and if your attack hasn't finished by the time their attack starts, you can't dodge. So, very frustrating, and not a game I can really recommend at all. Watch the anime. So, yeah, very, very disappointing, unfortunately. May very well be, to this point, the worst Dragon Quest game I've ever played. Moving on then to something a little more fun. And by a little, I mean a boatload of fun, and that is Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. So in September we had a big Nintendo Direct, and that very same day, despite not being announced in the Direct, there was a demo release on the Nintendo Switch for the new Dragon Quest Monsters game that is coming out in December. So of course I immediately played through all of it in that night, which was roughly around 4 hours. This will be the first new Monsters game to make it out of Japan in 12 years. So a lot of people are probably going to be new to this series. Basically, the Monsters games are kind of like Pokemon games set in the Dragon Quest world, where you capture and battle with Dragon Quest monsters. The big difference though is that monsters don't evolve through levelling up. Instead, you have to merge them together to create all new monsters. And it is always so much fun trying to come up with new crazy combinations to create the strongest monster party possible. The story for this new game isn't fully apparent yet, either because the demo is missing some key information or it just won't be revealed until later in the game. What I can gather, you play as a prince who has a curse that prevents him from hurting monsters, forcing him to become a monster trainer so they can battle for him against the evil forces that I think are sent by his own father? It's not clear in the demo. There is also some other force at play that seems to be purposely trying to make you stronger via monster tournaments, but again there is so little in the way of explanation within the demo. Which is just fine by me, as it means I still have a lot more to look forward to in the full game. The core gameplay is classic Dragon Quest monsters for sure, and that is a very good thing in my opinion. Enter large open areas, find monsters to battle, then defeat them to level up your party and attempt to gain new monsters too. All nice traditional turn-based combat. The 2 new features for this game, at least so far, who knows what else is hiding in the full game, are the way that you travel to different locations, doing so in a large tower that acts as a hub, and seasons. As you roam around areas, time will slowly tick away and you will experience changes in the seasons from spring, summer, autumn and winter. These will sometimes change the terrain, such as freezing water for you to walk over in winter, or during summer vines growing down the side of walls allowing you to climb up and down them to get to new areas. It also changes the monsters as well, switching it up from a more traditional day and night cycle into 4 seasons, creating more opportunities for new monsters to show up at different times. True, this kind of system isn't exactly groundbreaking, but it is a nice change for the series. Just visiting new locations and battling/collecting monsters isn't all you do, of course. Each location you travel to will have an arena, or at least they do based on the demo. Once there you can enter the G category. Unlike say gym battles in Pokemon, you don't have complete control over your monsters in the tournaments, which is why it's so important to train them up beforehand. 3 rounds, one after the other, with no items being allowed. If your team wins, you gain access to the next category, though you'll want to level up a little bit more before jumping into it. Your goal is to beat S-Class in each. At least I assume so, going by every other game. What is unique about this game is that, for the demo at least, once you've successfully beaten G-Class, you can gain access to the next area and the next arena, so you don't stick around in one location for ages trying to beat every class. This is a really nice change of pace and adds more variety to things. Plus, gaining access to new areas right after means that new monsters and stronger monsters are around, so you can level up easier, ready for the next class. It wasn't until nearly 3 hours into the demo that I finally gained the ability to synthesize monsters, aka merge them together. Makes sense, as they need to be at least level 10 in order to combine. This is where the fun is. Well, more of the fun. And unlike most of the games in the series, when combining 2 monsters together, you get a list of what they can turn into, and choose. So for example, if you really like a particular monster, say a slime, and wish for it simply to become stronger, you can synthesize it with anything else, but keep its original type. However, this isn't usually the best thing to do, as monsters are all ranked from G to S, or even triple S I think, so you often want to pick the merged monster to be a higher rank if available. Synthesised monsters will revert back to level 1, but their stats will be considerably higher than the original monsters were at that level, and they will level up faster too, letting them become stronger quicker. You can customise their abilities too by transferring certain things from the parent monsters, complete with a bunch of skill points to access skills and abilities. Once you reach the third and final location in the demo, they begin to tease you with side quests and more of the main story. But sadly, just as you start to do the side quest, the demo ends and you can go no further. This did make me a bit sad because, damn it, I wanted to keep playing. Which I suppose means it's a good demo, as I cannot wait for the full game now to continue on. You can keep playing the demo, going back to previous areas and level monsters up or combining them. However, the demo clearly states that if you use your demo save for the main game, all of your monsters will go back to level 1. Which seems a bit crappy, as by that point you might as well start the game over. The only benefit is that you'll have some synthesised monsters that can gain levels and stat points quicker to make it easier for you. Then again, I can understand why they would do this, as you just know someone would spend the entire time from September to December catching, synthesising and levelling up everything to the highest level possible, making much of the rest of the game far too easy. So with nearly 4 hours of that demo played, I can definitely say I am hyped for the full release of Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. It's coming out in December, make sure you pick it up, it is going to be awesome. Well, I'm bigcal, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video with some first impressions of 2 Nintendo Switch Dragon Quest games, and I hope that you don't pick up Dragon Quest Adventures of Dai, because you'll probably just be disappointed with it. But definitely grab Dragon Quest Monsters when it comes out. So, I'll see you again next time in the final video for Dragon Questober III, where I take a look at Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest III on the NES, the SNES, the Game Boy Color, and the Nintendo Switch.